Black student life at MSU. So thank you, Jessica. You can go ahead and take it.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us on this Friday afternoon. I'm Jessica, um, and I'm going to share my screen. Um, and since this is a smaller group, Carrie has made most of you panelists, so you should be able to chime in and ask questions when uh, when you're ready to, or if you want to raise your hand, that's fine. Um, okay, let's see. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Good.
Okay. All right. So I just kind of want to talk about how this came about and how Colonel Barnes and I got started working together a few years ago. When Colonel Barnes is, I believe Miranda says, a 1972 alumnus of Mississippi State and was a part of Mississippi State integrated in 1965. So Colonel Barnes and his classmates were part of that first cohort of Black students to attend the university in those years after integration when there weren't very many. And one of my major research interests, has always been civil rights in Mississippi. And so when I became University Archivist in 2018, I started really digging into Black history at Mississippi State, kind of trying to figure out what we have in our collections and where the holes were. And then out of that, I developed in 2018, I developed a first year experience class. Those are 1 credit classes that are offered here at Mississippi State for freshmen and transfer students. And they're really an opportunity to kind of dig into a topic that you might be totally outside of your major. I mean, there used to be a Quidditch, like a Hogwarts type Quidditch class, and they would play Quidditch with brooms out on the drill field. So some of them are silly, but some are more serious. And the way that I developed this one was to have students learn about Black history at Mississippi State, but also to uh, teach them information literacy. So some of the goals of the class are they learn how to analyze a primary source. They come into the archives several times and learn how to do archival research. I teach them how to use the online catalog. They learn how to search our digital collections. And so that hopefully they kind of learn their first semester of college how to use the library so it's not an intimidating thing for them. We had some other librarians have success with teaching courses like this with these elements of information literacy. So this is kind of one of the overarching goals of the course. The other piece is they do a capstone project using what they find in the archives, and they create an exhibit on the second floor of the library, which is kind of our main exhibit space. And they select their topics. I kind of show them what we have, and then they have found things over the years by using our database to search our finding aids. They often find things that I don't even realize that we have, or find different. Every year, the students seem to find different ways of making links. Like, for instance, one student this year is making some links between some of the early Black student organizations and current Black student organizations, and kind of presenting their exhibit pieces that way. So one of the major things that I noticed in becoming university archivist was that there are kind of 2 main stories about integration here that we're told here at Mississippi State. And the first was the game of change. And I'll just briefly, probably most of you know what I'm talking about, but maybe not everyone does. In 1963, Mississippi State basketball was pretty good, but there was this sort of unwritten rule that SEC teams did not play teams with Black players. It sort of got watered down from Black players to then, as more teams integrated across the country, Black starters. So for a couple of years, Mississippi State had been invited to the NCAA tournament, what we would call the NCAA tournament today. And the school kept turning down the offer. Students were mad about this, obviously, right? Some fans were upset. They thought, well, if the team's good, these players should be able to go play. But because of Ross Barnett was our governor at the time, this was like, pre-integration in Mississippi. James Meredith had just integrated Ole Miss, and there was violence there. So the governor tried to file an injunction against Babe McCarthy, our coach, and President Dean Colvard, who was the president at the time. And what ended up happening was President Colvard and Coach McCarthy snuck out of town. So there was nobody here to take the injunction to be served, and snuck the team out of town. And the team went to Lansing, Michigan, and played Loyola Chicago that had almost all Black starters. We lost that game, but Loyola Chicago went on to play and win the national championship that year. So that's kind of the lore. It is, it was an important time in history for Mississippi State. And over the years, that has been written about. There's been films made, and that's been well documented. The other piece is that we had integration in 1965, and Dr. Richard Holmes was the first Black student to attend Mississippi State. Now, unlike Ole Miss, unlike the University of Alabama, our integration went fairly smoothly. And let's see. Yeah. So here's Dr. Holmes. He was at the time, he was a student at an HBCU, Wiley College in Texas. And he needed to fill some classes to get some credits over the summer. And so his plan had been to come here for summer school and go back to Wiley. Now, Colonel Barnes, you all have talked to Dr. Holmes more than I have, so you may have more insight on this. But the story that I'd heard was that he decided to stay when there were a couple of other Black students enrolled in the fall. But there was certainly his sort of quiet racism. He's documented that over the years, but ultimately he enrolled, and there was press there, but there wasn't a big protest. And so those are kind of the two stories that I wanted to see. What else can we pull out? What other kind of stories are there that students can find? And so around 2020, I was doing a big exhibit for Black History Month, and I was introduced to Colonel Barnes. Some folks told me this is who believe from the Holmes Center said this is really who you need to talk to, because Colonel Barnes has been an active alum, active in the Black Alumni Association, and he was really able to help me out, kind of contextualize some of the materials that we have here in special collections for this exhibit. And so I think that's turned into us becoming friends and working together. He's spoken to my class on occasion, and is just kind of a real fount of knowledge of this time period. So early 2022, Colonel Barnes, I think I'm right on that.
I think that's right.
Is when you reached out with this kind of really broad big idea for a collaborative project to document the first 10 years of student life here at Mississippi State. And so I'm going to talk later about the library's role in that project. But I want Colonel Barnes now to talk. And I think we have Ambro Martin. He is here, and he's also on this committee with us. So Colonel Barnes, I'll let you take it from there. And these are just a couple of pictures of when you were a student here.
Up there, that's a good start.
Okay.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Jessica. Jessica has become more than just this university archivist. She's a good friend, and you're right, we've been working on this for quite a while. This project actually started, I'm going to give you the long term. It actually started in 1968 and continued in 1972 when I was not asked, but part of one of the classes I took was called Cultural and Racial Minorities. And they asked me to do a paper. I was doing a paper called History of Black Students from 1965 to 1972. It's like, okay, that's not a very long history, but that's it. That was the history at that particular time. And that paper, believe it or not, I don't know how it wound up in the university archives, but it did. And I didn't find that out until many years later. And so this is kind of a continuation of that paper that I didn't know existed until, I don't know, last maybe 10 years ago or so. But at any rate, and here's the next big jump in this story. In 2017, my wife and I was at all places, the Pentagon, going to, it was a ceremony, retirement ceremony for one of her soldiers, and she was conducting the ceremony. He's from Mississippi. And after the ceremony, you have a few minutes of just kind of chatting with, different people. And one of the people that walked up to me was named Lieutenant Colonel retired, who's on the screen, who's on the panel, on the screen right now, Ambro Martin. So we chatted a while, where are you from? We're from Mississippi. Oh, okay, I'm from Mississippi. Where do you go to school? Mississippi State. Oh, I went to Mississippi State. I was in ROTC. I said, well, I was in ROT. I said, TC. As a matter of fact, I was the first African-American who got a commission from Mississippi State. He says, oh, that is so cool. That is great. So we exchanged numbers and they say, okay, well, let's keep in touch. I said, okay, yeah, we'll keep in touch. And we committed to keep in touch. And guess what? We didn't. But here's the providential thing that happened. In 2021, Ambro had written a book, visual aid here, called Red Flags from Mississippi, A Native Son's Journey. So I saw it on Facebook and I said, oh, I remember him. I remember Ambro Martin. So I had his phone number, so I called him up. And we started chatting. I was just congratulating him on the book. And so I was telling him a little bit more about my story, how I got to Mississippi State. And then I also started telling him about, some of the people that I met. And you'll see some of those people, one of them, that left-hand picture there. That's why I ask you to, I'll leave that picture. That's a very important picture. Number one, it just shows we're just kind of kidding around. We're kids. We're 17, 18, 19 years old, just kind of doing our thing. This is on a Saturday afternoon. I remember that. And so we were just kind of part of the university on a Saturday afternoon. The other part of our story is the picture on the right is that you see me, one person up there amongst the leadership, the Student Association leadership. So we were one among many, but we were there. We were part of the university and part of the leadership part of the university. So after that, what I call providential meeting, it wasn't arbitrary, it wasn't by chance. Once after that meeting, I called up Dr. Presley and Dr. Collier and Ambro and some others, and we started saying, at least Ambro told us, this is a bigger story. This is a book. The first idea was, this is a book. And I said, this is we're not historical. We were the first this and the first that, but you don't really think about that when you're 17, 18, 19 years old. So he convinced me. He says that is a story here. He says it's a story that needs to be told, and it must be told. So Ambro convinced us that we should get together and start telling this story. So as time went on, we start developing this. This is more than a book. Some of the products we thought were going to be a documentary, a slideshow, archivist information that Jessica's diligently working on. And one of the things we realized is that we cannot do this in and of ourselves. We need a lot of input from Mississippi State. And Jessica is more than just a conduit. She is a participant in this project as we gather information about this project. So that's kind of a little bit of the background and the impotence to tell a story that has never been told and to do things that have never been done. Because when we went to Mississippi State, that was the first time that African-American students started attending an HBCU in these numbers. And so here we are today with lots of African-American students at Mississippi State participating at every level. So that's enough for now. Any other questions? Anywhere, any direction you want me to head to?
Well, I think
Jessica?
one thing that that I think is, if you could talk about Afro-American Plus a little bit, because I sort of see some links, and we've talked about this, about what we're doing now and what Afro-American Plus was trying to do. And I can show you all. So Afro-American Plus was the first Black student organization at Mississippi State And I think I've got, oh, this is my class. I didn't pull these slides up, but this is this was the pandemic class putting up their exhibit. But this is one of the reflector articles, and I'll get into what you all have done, what we've done with the reflector, but maybe just talk about this time period a little bit, and you guys work as a student organization.
Okay, I will. That's a good slide there. I'll start with the picture on the left. MSU reacts to King's death. April 1968, the world turned upside down for a lot of African Americans and a lot of Americans at the death of Dr. King. This was in April of 68, and you can't see the picture as well, but there's one gentleman who's on there. His name is Harold Spivey. I want to put some names to these pictures here. Was on campus along with Eddie Washington. This is, you can't really see the faces there, and a few others. And they were at the flagpole after Dr. King's death, preparing for a vigil that was going to be held that night. And so the president of the United States and president of the universities, to the best of our knowledge, also allowed ordered the flag to be at half mast. Soon as the flag would come down to half mast, someone on campus was raised to the top. And that went on all day long until at some point in time, somebody cut the rope so the flag could not be raised. There was, and this is documented in one of my paper, in the paper that I wrote, History of Black Students, the early years there, is that they were preparing for a vigil that night. And it said that this was the closest that Mississippi State ever got to a riot. The Black students, along with some other students, white students from the YMCA, went over to the Chapel of Memories and started having a vigil. And there was a lot of shouting and name calling, etc. that night. And someone threw a rock, well, actually it was a hood ornament, through the door, through the glass windows at the Chapel of Memories. And fortunately, that was the worst thing that happened, from a physical standpoint, but a lot of name calling. So, and this is in April 1968. I started in September. So, and along with some other Black students, there's only a very, very few in 1960, in April, when this happened. So here I am, an only child, along with some other my fellow Mississippi State Black alumni, now they're alumni, came on campus in that September. And out of this reaction to Dr. King's death, the Black students said, we need to have our own organization. And so from that, the Afro-American Plus came into being. Prior to that, it was an integrating group along with the YMCA, and that was our building. I think everybody on here is familiar with Mississippi State and the YMCA. That was the place that we hung out. That was and I've heard this term used, it was our safe house. And it was a safe house and then a lot more. But part of the reason for the Afro-American Plus is because we needed a community. We needed a place and a group of people that would, of like mind, who would push the agenda for Black people and to show that we are here. And I think that, Jessica, if you could scroll back to that picture with,
this one?
That's just a perfect juxtaposition of pictures. We're kids. We're on the left-hand side. We're climbing up on Stephen D. Lee's shoulder, and we're, just having fun on a Saturday afternoon there. And we're all together. And there are other Black students around. We're the one that made, and that's me on the top, by the way. I think I don't know whether you recognize me or not. But that's also me on the right, and you can probably pick me out on this picture very easily there. But on the one hand, we were there to have education, have fun, to create community. But we're also a part of a larger community of white students, and we were there for business. We're all in our suits and all this kind of good stuff. So on the one hand, we were together as a group, and on the other hand, we were part of the larger university. So that's a good juxtaposition of of not necessarily ideals, but just the physical being at campus. Most of the classes that we went to, we were only Black, maybe two other, but mostly just one or two other Black students in a class. When you sat down in a chair, you did not have to worry about anybody being on your left or on your right. People would actually move if you were sitting in a chair. That type of isolation, and you got to the point that you just expected that, and it was no, well, I'm gonna say it was a big deal, but we didn't make it a big deal because that's just kind of the way it was, and we were there to get an education, and that was our goal. Is that enough for now?
I think, yeah, you're tired of talking. Thank you.
I'm
Yeah,
never
that
tired of
was,
talking,
that
but
was,
on the other hand, I don't want to just drag this on
no,
forever.
no, that was that was great. That was awesome. Yeah, and so this organization, Afro American Plus, I was excited when I met Colonel Barnes to ask him more about it because we have a lot of their papers, and when they formed, there's the Constitution. And one of the things that and with very specific goals, like you mentioned, to become more more a part of the community, but also to educate others about Black culture, I think is one of the lines. And so there was Black History Week. Let's see. Black History Week programs. You all, I think, worked with the Black Voices, the choral group, formed a Mr. and Miss Afro American Plus pageant. And one of the things that I think is noteworthy and that my students always find really interesting is how much both the formality of it, in that you all were sticking to, like, playing by the rules of how a student organization forms, and then also with your goals, carried them out, right? And as one of the goals was to, I have some newspaper headlines here, but one of the goals was to recruit more Black women professors, and this article on the right, no Black requests have been granted in full yet. I think some of the requests related to conditions of dorms and dorm assignments, having more recruitment of Black professors, a counselor for Black students. Throughout the 1960s, 70s, and into the 80s, this group is seen writing to presidents, to Dr. McComas, to Dr. Giles. And it seems like, sometimes getting some answers, sometimes being able to meet with administration. But so this group, eventually, I think more Black student organizations formed on campus, but was very active. And my students are always really impressed by kind of the work that was done. And here are these are some pages of groups from Afro American Plus and the YMCA. These are from the Reveille. And then, do you want to talk about when Fannie Lou Hamer came? Can you address, like, what it was like having speakers here on campus? Because I believe she came in the spring of 1968 or 69.
Yes, it was the spring of I think it was the fall of 69.
Okay, because you would have been here. Okay.
Then again in 1970. Let me just start off with the picture on the left there, Afro American Plus. I think this is the first picture that they took as an organization that was in the Reveille there.
I think so.
And there are a few more members, but you know how university pictures are, whoever is available at that particular time. So we all showed up there at that particular time. I think it was in the Union. And you'll see on the left there, left bottom on the seat there, you see a gentleman that does not look like the other ones. That is Dr. Wallace Murphy. Dr. Wallace Murphy was the student advisor for Afro American Plus. And so many times I have been asked by faculty, white faculty, Black faculty at Mississippi State, by Black students, white students at Mississippi State, why did you have a white guy? That's what they always say. Why did you have a white guy as your advisor? It was very simple. In 1968, there were no Black faculty or staff, period. And the reason I paused there, because we take for granted that there has to be Black faculty at Mississippi State. Not in 1968, there was not. So Dr. Murphy, we asked him. He was a good friend. He hung out at the YMCA. His department was at the YMCA, philosophy and religion. And we got to know him real well, and says, Dr. Murphy, we need an advisor. Will you be our advisor? And he said yes. And so that's why he's in that picture. Now, let me fast forward when of course, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, we don't know what you can do and can't do. We don't know that you can't call up Mrs. Hamer, as famous as she was at this particular time. We didn't know that you weren't supposed to call her up and ask her to come speak at a white university, the first university, as a matter of fact, that she ever spoke at. It was not Tougaloo. It was not Jackson State. It was not some student at some school in the north. It was Mississippi State University. So we chose Dr. Murphy was the only one in that picture that had a car. So it was myself and a couple others. We did it twice, so I don't remember exactly who was on either trip. But we drove from Starkville, Mississippi to Ruleville, Mississippi, to her house to pick her up in Dr. Murphy's car. And because it was at night, the election was at night, so she stayed on campus at Butler Hall, and we posted security guards around there and everything. And so that presentation was so great, we decided to do it again. So we met to Mrs. Hamer's house twice. She spoke on campus twice. So, we had to get permission, to have her speak. And of course, during this time, if you recall, speakers on campus was any speaker just about there was controversy. I mean, it was like too liberal, too conservative, too this, too that, and so, to our mind, Mrs. Hamer is who we wanted to get to speak, and she did speak there. And let's see, what else? What other questions you asked me about this? Let me talk about the YMCA again. And there's two stories about the Y. Yeah, there we go. You see the Afro-American Plus on the left and the YMCA building on the right. The picture on the left, you see some people, especially the ones on the far left, those offices were upstairs in the YMCA building. The reason the YMCA building got to be prominent amongst Black folks because Dr. Holmes knew the janitor, the custodian that works in the YMCA building, and so he would hang out during the day between classes at the YMCA building. Fast forward, a couple other Black students came to the YMCA building because he was there. And then so on, et cetera, et cetera. And so that got to be the place to be. And I just found this out yesterday. This is breaking news. We found recently two other gentlemen who were the first Black graduates. Now, Dr. Holmes was the first enrolled, but the first three Black graduates were John and Aaron Barnes. One of them lives in New York, the other one lives in Chicago. We just connected with him in the last couple of weeks, and I got an email from him. I got a video from him last night, and they confirmed that the YMCA was, and he was the one that coined the phrase, at least in my mind, for the YMCA building as a safe place. Black students had to have community. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just enough to be at Mississippi State. You had to be with a community. And if you think about it, all of society is about community. The first community you have, of course, is your family. And then beyond that, it goes to, whatever other groups and schools it goes to. So as a building, the YMCA was a safe house, but beyond just the physical structure, it was a community of people who had a lot of things in common, who had a common goal, who had a common purpose, and that purpose was to, and I hesitate to use the word, but to go forward and integrate Mississippi State University, integrate it into the largest society of the United States of America. Because at that point, you had HBCUs and you had PWI, predominantly white institutions, but Mississippi State offered a lot of opportunity. One of the things that we have all, that most of the Black alumni have found out is that there was actually two dichotomies of thought at Mississippi State. There were the students and there was the administration. Dr. Giles, Dr. Jones, President Culver, and others, and believe it or not, even the chief of police, Burl S. Hood, they were part of the administration, and they catered, and cater may not be the right word, but they knew that the black students needed support. And it would be nothing for me to go to Dr. Jones' office and talk to him about whatever. You'd have to have an appointment maybe with Dr. Giles, but we would often go to Dr. Jones' office, student affairs, to talk to him about certain things, and document those things as well. So in this paper that I wrote, Dr. Jones, Dr. Giles, Dr. Bettersworth, I mean, these names are historical now. To us, they were the administration. These are the people that we went to. So, we found out the university was, to the degree that they could be in 1968 and the early 70s, very friendly, and those, because of those relationships that we built with them, it helped advance, and that's part of the reason that the amount of alumni, black students that went to Mississippi State, increased. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we did, and this was, I think, in 69 or 70, we went to the administration, says, hey, we need a black recruiting team. And sure enough, within, I don't know, a matter of weeks or months or whatever, we started going to other high schools, rather, to recruit black students to Mississippi State. So it's no accident that Mississippi State has a large percent of black students. And it started like I said, in the early days, because Mississippi State was a special place, not because of the building, not necessarily because of the administration, but because the black students who were there knew that to progress, you need to have a community of other black students, as well as the cooperation with the university, to propel things forward. I can really get on the soapbox on this.
That's okay. Thank you. This is awesome. I think this has gotten to where I want to get to in talking about the project. So obviously we've got all of this great stuff here in the archives, and actually a lot of it gets used, especially by classes, by our undergraduate and graduate students, but it's not accessible. It's not out there. Much of it has not been digitized over the years. So talking to some of my colleagues, and talking to Colonel Barnes and some of the alumni, I don't remember when we landed on the Reflector, but we talked about the Reflector, the student newspaper. There's so much great content there, but it's not really easily accessible. And one of the issues was that I can identify certain things by looking at headlines and photos, but I don't have the institutional knowledge or the knowledge of the time that you, Colonel Barnes, and the other alumni have of why these certain people are important. So what we decided to do, and Colonel Barnes and some of the other alumni did this. I think you camped out in our reading room upstairs a couple times a month for several months. And so you all went through, we identified 1965 to 75 as the time period that we want to focus on right now. And they've identified, I think, close to 700 articles and photos from the Reflector that we are digitizing. And so the goal that does a couple of different things. It makes it accessible for you all, the alumni, for your families, and it'll be searchable by so they'll have subject headings and names will pop up, but also for our researchers that can't come here, or for students to have this access to this digital collection. We have a number of digital collections in our institutional repository, and so this will be a really great addition to that. Now, the work that goes into this, so each one of these articles, each one of these photos, we have to have a lot of metadata information about that piece. And so that's where I brought in some of my colleagues. Carrie is here. She's our curator of cultural objects, but Carrie started a graduate assistantship program in special collections last year. So her GAs have been really instrumental, and they're the ones that are helping with this project and getting kind of the nitty gritty of the details of the metadata done. Our digital archivist, Lauren, is not here, I don't think, but she trained them and is working with me and making, helping them as they continue this project. So our ultimate goal is to have this portion of the project done by February, which is Black Alumni Weekend, and February 2024, so that we'll be able to present it to folks, show everyone how to use it. And it will be a resource that is not, anyone can use it. It'll be on Mississippi State's website. So it's not only accessible to Mississippi State, students or staff and faculty. So we're really excited about that. And Colonel Barnes, the thing that's come up in the past week that you don't know about is that, oh no, maybe I did mention this to you. We're applying for a grant to digitize all of the reflectors. But the cool thing about this project that I like is that this is just, it's time, right? It's a short period of time, 10 years, but it's also very dedicated topically. So it'll be, if you want to do research on civil rights in Mississippi and you want to look at it from a student perspective, this would be a great collection to use. So I see a lot of different ways that researchers could use this going forward. So this is kind of the first step. But I see, a lot of different ways that this could go. Do you want to talk about kind of goals for the future?
Yeah,
And maybe let Ambro jump in if he wants to.
I will. I got it in two segments here, and thank you for that. And I want to call them by the numbers or accomplishments, and I've been keeping kind of a tally, but since we talked, I've kind of broke this down into several categories. We have done 20 plus interviews with Black alumni, over 4 or 5 sessions. The sessions, the interviewing session, I'm talking about videotape, all the way from Wedowee, Alabama, which is where Dr. Murphy lives, to Jackson, Mississippi, where we did a video session with university, but MSU TV. We did 3 or 4 here, and we did a whole bunch on campus. We have done at least 2 panels and roundtables. Some of our alumni have traveled all the way from Maine, from Florida, from Alabama, from Tennessee, from Texas. We've received a video from John and Aaron Barnes, who live in New York and also in Chicago. And this number is almost unquantifiable. Is that how many thousands of years of professional experience has been accumulated through Black alumni just from this 10-year period? We have done, as Jessica mentioned, 700 plus reflector articles. We've also did a cut and paste of Reveille, pictures from the Reveille. We have at least, and this is depending on how we break it out, Jessica, at least a half a dozen MSU departments who are involved in this. And I just want to pat you on the back, Jessica. You're really taking the lead. Followed closely by the TV department, but the data from the Reveille and archive and the Reveille, the reflector and archive. I mean, it has been a tremendous help. We've the interviews total over 30 hours worth of interviews. We've had at least close to a dozen of executive council meeting, executive committee meetings. Dr. Collier, Ambro, and myself, and Dr. Presley meet about once a week just to kind of get an update. And in addition to that, of course, there are people who have conducted the interviews. We update the other 20 or so Black alumni who have participated. We've conducted at least 10, Zoom sessions with them to keep them updated and get some feedback from them. And here's the most important number. That important number is one story. And there are a lot of things involved. There are a lot of interviews. There's a lot of articles. There's a lot of meetings. There's a lot of people involved, but there's only one story, and that's our story. And that story needs to be told. Nobody has ever told it. Everybody knows about some of the larger things that have happened as it relates to desegregation or integration in Mississippi. And then Dr. Holmes was the first to enroll. But who was the second? Who was the third? Who was the 15th? Who was the 77th? And the reason I use that number 77, because when I started in Mississippi State, there were 77 Black students on campus at that time. And I think I'm number 77. I don't know whether I am or not, but at any rate, what about their stories? And one other thing about this story is, and Ambrose, I'm gonna let you jump in. The design of the interviews and the design of just about this whole idea is there's four components. One is what happened before I came to Mississippi State. I just didn't wake up one morning at the age of 17 and say, geez, I think I'll go to Mississippi State. I was born in 1950. I was a product of growing up on a rural farm in Mississippi in 1950. What happened during those 10 years from 1950 to 1960? What happened in 60 and what happened in 1970? What are all of those things that brought me to the campus of Mississippi State? What happened in those 4 years or so that I was at Mississippi State? That's the next component is, what was going on in the world and what was happening with me with those years that I was there. And then after that, if you were fortunate enough, you graduated. And so all of us went on to careers. What did we do in those careers? Where did we land? I can tell you for sure that we landed literally all over the world. So after you've done your career, after all of that experience, after all of that exposure, what the last component is, now that you have all of this information, what information would you give to Black alumni, to students, to faculties, to staff, not only Black students or faculty and staff, but all students? What can be learned by those thousands of years of professional experience that we have? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you.
Do you want to add anything at this point? This may be a good point for you to jump in.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Hey, Ambrose.
I'm here in Canton, Mississippi at the town square, so I'm sitting inside my truck, but I'm just listening in. But I gotta say this, Colonel Barnes hit every note that I wanted to say, which says we are in unison on this project. It's a great project. The stories of the pioneers, of those students, those Black students who attended Mississippi State from 1965 to 1975, their stories need to be told. And I'm just so excited to be part of this project. I know he brought up Fannie Lou Hamer. I actually went to school in Ruleville, Mississippi with Fannie Lou Hamer's youngest daughter, Jackie Hamer. And she and I were classmates throughout our school years there. The YMCA building, that was a safe space. Just listen to the 20+ interviews and how the students always came back to the YMCA building. That was a safe haven. That story needs to be told. Also, it need to be told, Mississippi State has a lot of firsts. Colonel Barnes, for example, the first Black officer from MSU. I obtained, as he said before, my commission through Mississippi State ROTC program. And I knew nothing about Colonel Barnes until I met him at the Pentagon. So their stories, the pioneer stories, need to be told. As he said before, what were their thoughts and ideas prior to coming to state? What happened to them at state? What was those stories that they learned at home that they brought to Mississippi State? And what were those tools that they learned in Mississippi State that they took to the professional careers? And now they have an opportunity to give back to the current students, to the staff and faculty, and to potential students as well. So there are just so many positive things that are coming from this project, and I am just so happy to be part of it. So kudos to the Mississippi State archivists, librarians, and everyone else who has helped bringing this project to life. So I just want to say thank you to everyone.
Thanks, Ambro. What year did you graduate?
I'm a class of '93, so it's
Okay.
30 years ago.
Okay.
Believe it or not, 30 years ago.
Okay. Well, I think we can wrap it up soon. If folks have questions, you can put them in the chat. But I think Colonel Barnes, thank you so much. Ambro, thank you for joining us. This has been really it's really fun. I love working on this project with you guys. So and I'm learning a lot, and I'm hopeful that we can continue to expand on it, whether that's through this grant or continuing to you know, find these pieces in the reflector and go past 1975 and, you know, get up eventually to Ambro's years. But let's see if we have any, I don't know if we have any questions in the chat, but I want to thank you guys for joining us today. Anything else, Colonel Barnes?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Dr. Collier's not here with us today, but if he was here, I'm sure he would mention these two words, and it's more than just two words. It's very important. It's part of the reason we're doing this project is student success. And Jessica, you had put in, you know, the write-up about the future and expanding this project. Part of the long range goal, of course, you know, we're in the battle right now just to make sure this is done by Black Alumni Weekend, is to expand this from 75 to 85, to do it in 10-year increments. So at some point in time, you know, we're planning on handing this off to the next generation. And the reason I mentioned student success is so that Black students and all students can learn from the material that we have. Success is very important. One of the quotes I have there, and this is in our presentation that we made initially to the university, that knowledge is power. To understand where you are going, you must understand where you came from. That's why history is so important. So that we have this knowledge, and we want this to be shared not only with Mississippi State, but with corporate America, other institutions, NGOs, nonprofits, to contribute to Mississippi State's mission of learning, serving, and research. This is about, and to be a role model for students. This is about the future. It's not about the past. It's about how we can take the past and share that information so that we can have a better future for everybody.
I agree. Thank you. Anybody else? I enjoyed this so much. Thank you, Colonel Barnes, and thanks, Miranda and Carrie, for getting us together. I'm glad all of our tech worked because I've had a lot of issues with WebEx the past couple of weeks. So thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks, Mom. Hope everyone has a good weekend, and Colonel Barnes, I'll be in touch. I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Y'all take care. Thank you.